Hello everyone and welcome to another match preview on Football Talk podcast. My name is Ozzy and I'm your host for today's show. Last weekend was definitely one to forget as Liverpool were defeated by Forest 1-0, and that was a shock to the system, as I'm sure many of us did not expect us to lose that game. It was such a shock that we had rival fans coming out of the cave making a mockery of Liverpool, saying we got humbled. Now that definitely was not the case. It was just a bad day in the office, and these things happen. Rival fans, for me, seemed quite nervous about Liverpool. They thought with no more Jurgen Klopp, it's going to take them a long time to even look like a decent team or to even challenge for any major honours. But as of now, the signs for me are great under Arne Slot. Some fans have already dismissed Arne Slot as the man to take the club forward. I definitely don't agree with that. We have to be patient with any coach who comes into a new club. I'm encouraged from what I've seen so far. And at the minute, so many players are flourishing under this regime. But hey, we'll talk about the players individually during the show. Let's get into the match preview. We're in match week 5 in the Premier League. It's back-to-back home fixtures. So we'll be hosting Bournemouth this Saturday at Anfield, 3 p.m. kickoff UK time. So let's analyze both teams. I'll also give you my predicted lineups. I will discuss some tactics and then reveal my score prediction. Feel free to get involved and drop your comments in the chat. Now, in terms of Liverpool's form, we don't need to talk about it too much. We all know what's happened. We've played 3 games. We've played 4 games, but we've won 3 games and we've lost 1. The 3 wins that we were able to attain was 2-0 against Ipswich, Brentford 2-0, and then the nice victory against Manchester United. This all happened before the international break, and with a 2-week layoff, we returned to action and lost the game against Forest. I made a big point about this in my shows last week that I do believe that the international break kind of ruined our rhythm going into that fixture. Not saying that was the reason why we lost, but as you can tell, we just didn't really hit the ground running. But thankfully, we responded in great fashion in midweek against Milan in the Champions League, where we won 3-1. So, just because of one defeat, you can't just throw your dummy out the pram and say, oh, we're useless, our coach is useless. You have to be patient. These things will happen. We aren't going to be undefeated throughout the whole campaign. And this is definitely a learning curve for the new coach. And obviously, as a fan base, we will need to understand that we're a Liverpool Football Club and there will be games where we might not just be able to break teams down. And that is one of our Achilles heels where we struggle to break down low block teams. So that's something we need to get used to. I believe we have the personnel to do that in this team. So Harvey Elliott, if he was around, I think he would have played a big part. He's really good at breaking lines, coming from a deeper role, and then playing more centrally will definitely suit him. So it's such a shame that he's not available for this fixture. But look, I have a lot of faith in this team. I feel like we can certainly do a job this season in the Premier League, as well as the Champions League and other cup competitions. So, as you know, guys, games are coming thick and fast. We're playing the Carabao Cup next week as well. So, lots to look forward to. Now, in terms of Bournemouth's form, they've played 4 games like everyone else. They've won 1, they drew twice, and they lost 1 as well. So, the win was against our rivals Everton, where they won 3-2. The draws were against Forest and Newcastle, 1-1 in both results. And then they narrowly lost last week against Chelsea. For me, I think they were quite unlucky to lose against Chelsea. I actually thought they were the better team and produced a high volume of chances, but they just weren't able to convert. They even missed a penalty through their new signing, Evan Nilsson. So I'm sure he'll want to hit the ground running, score his goal, or his first goal for the club as well. So I'll be interested to see if he's selected for this fixture or not. Now, in terms of head-to-head between these two teams, last season we actually played Bournemouth 3 times. The first victory we won at Anfield was a 3-1 victory with Luis Diaz, Salah, and Jota on the score sheet. Then we faced them in the League Cup at the Vitality Stadium. This time it was a bit more of a closer game, but Liverpool were victorious as they got the edge with a 2-1 victory. Gakpo and Nunes on the score sheet for that fixture. And in the final game, in the season around January, I believe it was, at the Vitality Stadium in the Premier League, Liverpool were on fire that day. A brace each for Jota and Nunes that led to a 4-0 victory. Having said that, you're thinking, we beat them twice, and we should do the same thing this time, right? Well, I remember them being very tricky and difficult opponents, as they're very quick on the counter attack. So they have a lot of players that I feel like are very neat and tidy on the ball and can definitely hurt you on the counter attack. So we have to be wary of them. They are capable of punishing teams. So this, for me, will not be a walk in the park. So we have to be on top of our A game, and it has to start from the first minute. We have to be aggressive in our approach and try and get that early goal, because you never know. With Bournemouth, they might want to play the low block, but the way Iraola plays, I don't think that will be his style of play. But you don't know. When it's against one of the big boys like us, teams do adapt, and the philosophy goes out the window sometimes. So we'll have to be on guard to make sure we're equipped to try and break down the team in any shape or form, whether they're playing defensive or not. Doesn't make a difference. This is the test that Arsenal will have under these sort of circumstances, where teams will want to play the low block. So we've got to do much better going forward. Team news. So let's speak about the team news. Obviously, the press conference didn't take place today. It will be happening tomorrow morning. So we'll get more further update. But as it stands on the Thursday night, Harvey Elliott is the only casualty in the squad for Liverpool. Unfortunately, he's got a foot injury and he'll be out for about a couple of months, which is such a shame. I feel like this would have been the time where he would have got a few run of games, in my opinion. So, yeah, bad timing for the player, but obviously for the club as well. So, as it stands, Arsenal should have the rest of the squad to pick from. For Bournemouth, or the winger Otara is out with an ankle injury that he picked up in international duty. Sigh of relief, as he was a player that definitely turns up against Liverpool. I know he caused us a lot of havoc last season, so yeah, don't mind him not playing in this fixture. The American midfielder Tyler Adams is sidelined with back injury, but you've got Unal and Billing fit and ready to be selected for this team after they've just returned from injury. So what I'll do now is I will present a graphic and predict the lineups for both teams. So here we go. Let's do it now. So let's do the home team. We'll do Liverpool first. So drop a comment, let me know what you guys think, because I don't think a lot of us will have the same teams based on the great performance we had against AC Milan. Some players will definitely be knocking on the door in order to start in this fixture because of the level of performance they produced in that fixture. So in goal, he didn't have the best of games, to be brutally honest, but he still is our number one, and that is Alisson. So I wouldn't change it in any other way. Trent, he starts in that fixture, of course. Had a decent game, to be fair, all-round game. Kept Rafael Leao quiet. So in this one, it'll be interesting to see who he's up against. Is he up against Justin Kluivert? Is he up against Tavernier? Is Semenyo going to play on the left? Because he does play on both flanks. It'll be interesting to see who his opponent will be. In the centre-back role, I'm sticking with Konate. And alongside will be the captain, Big Virgil. So he'll be there. And in terms of left backs, Tsimikas for me did a decent job against AC Milan, provided the assist for Van Dijk's header. But in this fixture, I think Robertson will return to the lineup. I think Tsimikas started more so to give Robertson a bit of a rest. So I think it's more of a squad rotational move rather than disregarding Robertson as a starter. So this will be the backline that I'm predicting for this game against Bournemouth. Now, in terms of the double pivot, I don't think we'll see any changes there. I think it'll be Gravenberch, who continues to produce some stellar performances, and his stock is rising, which I'm all for it. I'm really, really pleased with how he's performing, and long may it continue. And we've got McAllister as well alongside him. We had a good game, very tenacious in his play, and feel like he's still adapting to the role, but I feel like playing alongside Gravenberch, he should have a bit more license to go a bit more further up and definitely use his passing ability to the fullest, because some of the passes he's been producing recently has been sublime. So, yeah, we've definitely got a player who can pull the strings. On the right wing, Salah remains there. Number 10 will be Szoboszlai. There are options for that number 10 role, but I think Szoboszlai was fantastic against AC Milan. Got his goal as well, so confidence should be a lot higher. So I'm hoping he can bring that goal scoring form into this fixture and really hit the ground running in the Premier League. Now, these two positions, always debatable on a weekly basis, to be fair. Big question is, who do I believe will or should start? For the left wing position, I'm going to go for Gakpo. I was so impressed with how he performed against AC Milan. And I do feel like with Gakpo, he's one of those players where if he knows he's going to start, his confidence is a different level. He can, come off the bench and be an impact player, but if he's been on the bench for consecutive games, I do feel like his confidence drops a little bit. Maybe there's more self-doubt. So this is something that he'll need to work on as the years go on, to make sure he's got that strong mentality. And yeah, sometimes it's a thing when you're playing for a big club, rotation will be a regular occurrence. So can't always take it as a sign where, you're not regarded as a player that's good enough. I think it's more than good enough. It's just that we've got a lot of players in those positions. We've probably got about 4 or 5 players that can play left wing, to be fair. So he'll just need to buy this time. And then look, if he produces those kind of performances that he did against AC Milan, you can't get him out of the team. So Luis Diaz has definitely got a battle on his hand. But this is the healthy competition you want in a squad in order to challenge for big honours. If you don't have this kind of competition, then nothing else is going to happen. I feel like you've got to aim for the highest success you can, not settle for mediocrity. So for me, it's good that we've got these talented players in the squad. So for this fixture, I'm going for Gakpo on the left wing. Up top, there's a few options. You've got Chiesa, who just came off the bench against AC Milan, so he's made his official debut for Liverpool. Yet to make his first start. Could this be the game? I don't think it is, to be fair. I would love to see him play in this fixture, but I think it'll be more off the bench rather than starting this fixture. I feel like he's still finding his sort of rhythm, or he's trying to gain that full fitness, which he hasn't got quite yet. So there's no urgency for us to put, Chiesa in the firing line right now. We can kind of buy our time with him, play games here and there. We've got a cup game next week, so maybe he can start in that fixture more so than this. But I do expect him to make an appearance in this fixture. So hopefully it's longer than 5 minutes, because that was a little bit disappointing. But we'll have to be patient with regards to his participation in the team. Jota for me has been a bit off in the last two or three games. The game against AC Milan, very quiet, very ineffective. For me, he looks slightly burnt out. So I feel like this could be the game where he's rotated. And I might even give Darwin Núñez a start. That's what I will predict. I don't think he gets selected on merit. But having said that, he did have a decent impact when he came off the bench on Tuesday against AC Milan. But it's not like he scored or anything to that nature. So for me, he's got a lot of work to do. But I could see him starting this fixture. So I'd go for him just to give Jota a bit of a rest, and then, have Jota available from the bench to come on and make an impact. So this is my predicted starting lineup for Liverpool. Drop a comment and let me know what you guys think. Now we'll switch over to Bournemouth. So they pretty much deploy the same tactic, or should I say same system as Liverpool. So they also play a 4-2-3-1 formation. In goal, it will be the return of Kepa. He wasn't able to play against Chelsea due to being on loan, and that's his parent club. So I believe he'll regain his place in the starting lineup. And then in terms of the back four, I think it'll be the same that started against Chelsea. So it'll be Adam Smith as a right back, and then you've got Kerkez, who's a talented player with a talented left back, which Szoboszlai will know, of course, as they're both Hungarian, so they play for the national team together. So one to look out for in terms of profile, because we are in the hunt for a left back, I would say, in the long term. And he's definitely been a name that's been touted in the media or among sort of fan discussions. So definitely one to look out for. In this lineup, I think it'll be Senesi. There we go. And then alongside him will be Sabani. Both of them have formed a formidable partnership over their time together at Bournemouth. So yeah, solid backline there for Bournemouth in terms of double pivot. I think they're gonna go for a bit more safety rather than having a player like Alex Scott, who's really fantastic on the ball. A bit more attack mind, more box to box. I think they'll go for more sort of defense-minded players. I think they'll go for Lewis Cook, and then alongside them will be Christie. There we go. So Christie's a bit more attack-minded, but has played in the double pivot a lot more than other players in the team. In terms of the advanced three, Semenyo is starting for sure. Fantastic player. Got a wonderful shot on him, but really quick on the ball and off the ball. His movement is electric. So yeah, he's definitely someone we have to watch out for. Kluivert, starting his number 10 role, seems to really enjoy playing this role. He's predominantly a winger, plays on the left and plays on the right, but he's really enjoying playing this free role where he's able to roam around, attack on either channel, and have an impact in front of goal as well. So it's a role that certainly suits his skill set. And on the left, if he was fit, I think it would have been Otara. I'm going for Tavernier. They also have Sinistera, but I think he'll probably come off the bench to be more of an impact player. I think Tavernier will get the nod. Now this is a flip of a coin between Unau and Ivan Nilsson. I think Ivan Nilsson will get the nod. I know he missed the penalty last week, but that doesn't mean you drop your striker, especially if he's been brought in a record fee. And he will need consecutive games in order to really showcase his talent. So I think he will start in this fixture. So that is my predicted lineup for Bournemouth. Drop a comment and let me know what you guys think. Now, in terms of score predictions, I'm going for a Liverpool win. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet, to be fair. I think it's going to be quite a tight, contested game. So I'm going for a 2-0 victory for Liverpool with Gakpo and Szoboszlai as the two goal scorers for Liverpool. And I think Bournemouth, it will be Semenyo who gets the consolation goal. So yeah, so that is my prediction. Just going to go through some of the comments. Philip says, big up Ozzy, big up yourself, Philip. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for tuning in. And then you've got Diggs, by the way, one. He says, hey, what's up? What's up to you? Thank you for tuning in. Before we close the show, got a special guest that's going to come on now, and that is Jay Kismet. How's it going? All good?
I'm all good, bro. How you doing, Ozzy?
All good, all good. Talk to me. How are you feeling about this fixture?
I'm confident. 3-0 I'm going with. It's one of them games, 3-0. I think the Forest game was a bit of a whack in the face, but I think we might have learned. We gotta have to learn from that. You know, we won on Tuesday against Milan, so I think I'm confident going into this game. You know, we're at Anfield. I think last Saturday was I just don't understand last Saturday's game.
Yeah.
But I think hopefully the players have learned pretty quick what have to handle Bournemouth now.
I think last week was just a one-off, if I'm being honest. I do feel like with the international break, it just had a big impact on the team. A lot of the players were involved with their nations. I think we had about 10 players that participated. I think that's the highest in the league as well in terms of players being involved. So
Mm-hmm.
when you've got players, going all over the world, because it's not just European players, it's players from South America. You've got Endo playing in Asia, so a lot of these players, with the traveling, with all that mileage, they're going to come back not fully equipped in terms of hitting the ground running. And I also feel like when you've returned after a 2 week layoff, just to train once or twice and then go into a game where, let's be honest, it was always going to be a difficult game against Forest because of the nature of the manager's philosophy, where we know about Spirito Santo. He's a defensive-minded coach, so he was always going to park the bus and didn't realize he was going to do it from the first minute onwards. But we'll give them credit. They had the game plan to disrupt our play, but we just couldn't really hit the ground running. I feel like our passing was really off. We just couldn't find that rhythm. We just seemed a bit off it, to be fair. So, what do you make of the reaction from the fan base? Because I know you're on social and you probably interact with other Liverpool fans as well. Me personally, I thought it was a little bit OTT in terms of like
Mm-hmm.
some of the comments that came up regarding the players and even the coach.
Mm-hmm.
What did you make of the reaction from the fan base?
Yeah, because I heard today from Frank's show that some were saying Arnie slot out. I'm like,
Already?
calm, yeah, man. Like some guy, I think Jeff Golding was saying
Okay.
some he read some comments. Some people were saying that. So
Wow.
for me, that's just going over the top. Like, come on. I always say that the Ronald De Boer 4 game chart. He was in charge for 4 games, and
Yeah.
they sacked him. That was a sign of things to come.
Yeah.
Back in the days, players would get 2 years minimum. A manager will get 2 years minimum. The longer
Yeah.
football's gone over the years, managers haven't really got time now. That's why they look stressed, half of them. If they're going to keep a job on that. So for me, I don't really like the way football's heading. That's the bigger picture, though.
Yeah.
But for me, I think it was a bit overreaction from the fans. It was the first loss under Arnie Slot in a real game. We had a few friendlies,
Yeah.
but it was the first sort of loss, and it was like a wicked whack in the face. Like all of us, like everyone was like confident going into that game. I was hearing 3-0, 4-0, this, that, and the other. We
Yeah.
ended up getting beat 1-0. But for me, I agree with what you were saying about, like Alisson. The other day, he did a press conference. The guy looked
Yeah.
tired.
Yeah. He did.
And he was saying the cover that, what, we're playing too many games. I was like, what? Have you noticed how Liverpool are the only team that actually moans about the problems in the game? Klopp did it with the subs. We end up getting
Yeah.
5 subs now.
Yeah.
Alisson saying we're playing too many games. It always seems like Liverpool are the club or the people who talk about the problems in the game. So I was
Yeah.
really happy to see Alisson or someone who
Yeah.
plays a lot of games actually say something. About time.
It is. No, it's so true because I think some fans will probably say, "Oh, some fans can be quite agree and say, oh, we want more football." But the thing is, when you've got these top players being exhausted and being burnt out, you're not going to see them playing at the highest level. So you're not really going to enjoy the games if they're not playing to their full ability. Because, for example, the Euros that we just recently had, I wouldn't say it's the best Euros I've seen. It was quite mediocre in terms of the big players and the big teams. I don't think they lived up to the bill. So I think Rodri as well came out and said some comments as well,
Mm-hmm.
saying that players could possibly go on strike. So
Yep.
I feel like you have to kind of use your platform to voice these concerns, because if none of these players like Alisson and Rodri are saying these things out loud, then they're just going to continue to add more fixtures and all these sort of nonsense tournaments like the Club World Cup. I believe it's in the summer now, isn't it? Next year. So
Okay.
they're just adding all of these random tournaments. You've got these nation leagues, international games that
Oh, the
no.
Nations League. Oh, that is just like keep them as friendlies.
Yeah.
Like, why give it a name? Like, or put them in a group and stuff. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like international football managers who play at the top, like international wise, they don't really get a lot of chances to try out players and formations. Why?
Yeah.
Because everything's so bloody serious. Nations League sort of made friendlies into a serious thing.
Yeah.
And also for me, I like the way Ferguson used to not send players out on international duty, knowing they're not really worth going.
Yeah.
So he used to be like, "Oh, okay, Giggs, Beckham, they're injured, they've got a little knock, they can't come to international,"
Yeah.
knowing they'll walk into the England team anyway, Beckham, for example. So
Yeah.
for me, managers have to be like that, to protect their own family.
I hope Arne Slot takes notes as well because you do have to protect your own family. That's very true because I'll be honest with you, looking at our squad, we're not blessed in terms of numbers. I know we've got good quality players in our squad, but with Klopp teams over the years, we've always had like 2, 3 players per position. This squad is very, very thin. I feel like we've got 2 players per position, and if we get 1 or 2 knocks in certain areas of the pitch, the level, and that's no disrespect to the players we have in the squad, the drop in terms of the level play is quite
Hmm.
significant. So
Yeah,
that's my concern as well. And I feel like, if there are players that, if you feel like they're a bit exhausted, and it's probably a bit unethical to say, but you've got to protect yourself and your team,
yep,
and just say, look, just rest this out. It's a friend, and this is what gets on my nerves in terms of the number of friendlies that they're playing in terms of international football, because it's just unnecessary, and I don't feel like it attracts an audience as well. I don't feel like fans enjoy it as much as we probably grew up loving watching the World Cups and the Euros and all that
yep,
stuff, but it doesn't have that same kind of impact for me. I
yeah,
think
like
club
it used to.
football,
Yep,
no, it doesn't.
exactly.
Like, club football is the bread and butter of being a football fan now. It's like you
Yep.
enjoy the Champions League and
Hmm.
the Premier League titles and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see, what happens with that. But yeah, I do think they need to reduce the games because because I remember watching this online where I think if Rodri, for example, played maximum games in terms of, if City reached all the finals, for example, he'd be playing about 70, 80 games, which is just outrageous. So,
Yeah.
you know, you-
But did you see how Pep didn't play Rodri for the first 3 games?
yeah,
He's only came back in the last week or so. Um, so he like Pep sort of does look after his sort of players sometimes, like
he
Foden
does.
even. Foden
Yeah,
hasn't been starting. So
no,
him and Rodri, like they've both of them got to the final in the Euros.
yes,
Both of them got looked after. There you go. That's how you do it, you know.
it is,
Rodri for me, the best DM in the world. Hence, but they still covered him in that position. Like they still worked around it, you know.
yeah. Signing Gundogan for me was a smart signing because he can cover
Right.
both positions as well. So, but what do you
I
think of
wish we
Bournemouth?
bought him. Yeah, I wish we bought him the first time he came to England.
Do
You
you
know
know
when
what? He was someone I
big
really
mistake.
wanted as well.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I don't know why that didn't happen. To be fair, maybe Klopp had this sort of like gentleman agreement with Dortmund that he wouldn't sign their players because we never signed a player from Dortmund directly. Uh,
exactly.
so I don't know.
Klopp never really sort of went into the German market. Really, when you look at it, actually,
No,
Bobby came from there. Gravenberch came from there.
yeah,
So what's like, yeah.
Bobby came before his time, so we
Oh,
signed him
actually, yeah,
on.
yeah. Brendan brought him. Yeah,
Yeah, Ben didn't even know he came through
yeah.
the
He
door.
just like, yeah, we'll take him. Like he didn't have no choice.
He didn't know what was going on. To be fair, but
You
no,
know
it's
what I
true.
mean?
He didn't really exploit that market. Obviously, we had like Emre Can and players like that came through, but no, he didn't really exploit it. So yeah, interesting
Gu-
that, to be fair.
Gu- Gundogan was Pep's first signing as Man City manager.
Oh, was he? Oh wow.
Yeah, man. So I think he knew that that guy is serious. Like for me,
Yeah,
I don't think without Gundogan in the last years where they won the Champions League, won everything, Gundogan was their best player. I don't care what anyone else
100%.
says.
Yeah,
Better than De Bruyne, better than Foden. He was just the guy, you know.
he was the man of clutch moments. He scored so many important goals for them, and he
Hmm.
just always delivered. Whether I remember him playing false nine, like he played in so many different positions, um, but he always delivered. He was such a consistent player.
You know why,
Um,
bro? Because like for me, he's not fast. He's
yeah,
not skillful, but you know what it is? It's his mind.
mind.
In
Yes,
his
you know
mind,
that well.
he's the man. Like he, because I always say this, it's all about the mindset in players. I don't care how fast a guy can run,
Yeah,
but if his mind isn't right, he's not really. He's going to waste that running energy. You know, Adama Traore, for example. But
yeah,
look, when you look at Traore, for example, speed wise and strength wise, he beats Gundogan all day long.
yeah.
But Gundogan beats him on that main thing, the mind, and
Just
that's why
intelligence.
Gerrard was the player he was. I wish
Mm,
Curtis Jones can sort his mindset out. You know, that's one
yeah,
player.
yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think with Curtis Jones, it's always been a thing where he'll play a good run of games and then he'll pick up a small injury and then it's just like 2 steps back. So he
Yeah.
never always finds his rhythm, which is a bit of a shame. I presented my predicted lineup earlier on. Who would you start in this fixture against Bournemouth?
Well, for me, I'll carry on with Simicast at the back.
Okay.
Um, So I'll keep that same defense and goalkeeper from the
Yeah,
Milan game. For me, does McAllister need a rest? Like for me, he's our best player, like one of the best players anyway.
yeah,
And even if you did rest him, who are you going to bring in? You know, so we got Harvey Elliott, for example. But for me, the main guys would be Robertson, Simicas. I'd keep Simicas there, and I would change Jota for Darwin.
fair play. Yeah,
But
that's what I do.
I'm also thinking about Diaz and Gapco. I think Gapco, what he did on Tuesday, you know, that
He
guy
was
deserves a
sensational.
little
He was
respect, you know.
he was
He definitely,
sensational.
yeah.
That's who I put it. So I put it to Gakpo on the left,
Uh huh.
Nunes up top, and
Oh.
I think with Roberts, I think Robertson will come back into the team.
Hmm.
I just think Robertson, to be fair, has looked decent so far this season, but it's just that he looked really burnt out in that Forest game. Like he just looked leggy there. So I think it was more so to rest him. Because I feel like Arne Slot, I don't expect him to make a lot of wholesale changes
Hmm.
in every fixture. I feel like it'll be more in the line of 2 to 3, 4, like those kind of few changes rather than 6, 7 changes. I don't
Yeah.
feel like that's his style of management. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see who starts. But there are players not going to do. I think Gakpo certainly has a case for himself. I would probably have said before the Milan game, he didn't really have a case because whenever
Hmm.
he came off the bench this season, I don't feel like he was that impactful. But
Yeah. Yeah.
he's one of those players he needs to start. I feel like he
Yeah.
just his confidence is a different level when he starts because he feels like he's the man. So coming off the bench, sometimes he's good, but I feel like if he's been on the bench for 2 or 3 games, he loses a bit of that belief that
Hmm.
he's a good player. So
Hmm.
it's more of a mentality thing for him. But look, he looked fantastic. And I know Diaz has been great as well. But look, it's a good headache to have where you've got 2 players on fire right now. So if one doesn't deliver, just bring the other one in the second half. So I don't think it's too much of an issue. But it's good to see these players showing a bit of form. What do you make of Jota's form? Because I feel like he's looked a bit off the rails in the last 2, 3 games.
Um, I think but he should have scored against Milan. Little chip over the
Yeah,
goalie, you know, when the goalie came out to him.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I don't really want to make it into a big issue. Like for me, I
yeah,
always say this: like we've got 2 guys up top now. Who we can play, Jota
yeah,
and Darwin, both fit. So when one ain't really up to it. Like Jota's started every game this season. So
yeah,
give Darwin a shot. I mean, we're at Anfield. That's another bonus. You
yeah.
know, we're not away from home. So we're at Anfield. So for me, perfect time to give Darwin a start and then bring Jota on at 60, 70 minutes, whatever. Switch it around in that way. It keeps the players sort of what it gets them at rest, and at the same time it burns them as well. Thinking, oh, Darwin's starting in front of me now. I need to step up next game. You know,
Mm.
it works sometimes.
No, it's true. Do you have faith in Darwin Nunes as a sort of like as a long term striker, or is it more so just try to get the best out of him this season because who knows what the future holds?
You know what? I think with the whole Darwin story, because I really back Darwin. I really like the guy. I just like his cheek. He's a cheeky guy, and I just like
Yeah,
his personality. I think he's a top guy. But for me, that little ruckus in South America with the fans,
yeah, I remember
that
that.
took him back a good 5 steps. You know, like for me, didn't need to do that.
Yeah,
But for some reason he did it. Protect his family and friends and stuff. So
yeah,
but did you notice last season he was on the top of his game? He wasn't getting caught offside. Boom, got injured. Hasn't been right since.
yeah.
Hasn't been right.
that's
So
that's that's his problem trying to stay on side because you're right. When he was on form, he showed. I think he showed a lot more intelligence in terms of his movement
yeah.
and adapting to the opposition. But I think that was more so where it was something that was worked on in training under Klopp,
Hmm.
rather than it just happening naturally to him. Because I feel like his natural game, he's just Mr. Chaos. Like he just wants to run around, like kind of how you play playground football when you were
Yeah.
younger.
Yeah.
You just want to
Street
run
football.
around and try and score all the goals. I feel like he
Hmm.
just has that kind of street mentality in terms of playing football. So for me, it needs to be where he needs to take it down a notch, be a bit more calculated and measured in terms of what he needs to do on the pitch because
Hmm.
he has the skill set to be a top striker. But for me, in terms of as a finisher, he's not a natural finisher. So he's how long has he been in for? About 2-3 years now.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
feel like his finishing's improved at all.
At
It
all.
needs to be where he needs to show more composure, especially when he's in like one-on-one situations with the keeper. He'll just smash it like that. That's not a natural goal scorer. That's something you expect from someone who doesn't, who doesn't find themselves in those positions on a regular occurrence, like a defender, and they just try hit as hard as they can and hope for it to hit the back of the net. But
Yeah, yeah.
for me,
True.
he needs to be a striker where he's able to produce different type of shots, whether it's a dinked finish or a side foot finish. Like he doesn't have variation. It's more
Hmm.
so he'll create half yard and he just smash it as hard as he can, and then hopefully it'll hit the back of the net. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see in terms of how he does this year, but I don't know. I think Jota is a finisher,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think Jota is a top striker in terms of the off the ball kind of play, where in terms of hold up and link up. Link up is improved, to be honest with you. I've noticed it over the last year or so, but
Yeah, yeah,
I feel like there's areas of his game where his natural position is actually left wing, where
yeah,
he gets the ball and he's direct and he just attacks that byline, cuts in and then shoots whenever required. So yeah, it's interesting in terms of like the players we have. But look, he's in the team now. He's in the squad, so we do have to utilize him, whether he starts or he comes off the bench. He's definitely a player that hopefully in terms of the long term, in terms of this season, should have an impact on the team. He hasn't scored yet, so maybe he needs a goal to give him a bit of confidence or a bit
yeah.
more
He
sort
needs
of
to start in it. I think.
yeah,
Like you know what it is with football, because like I played Sunday league and everything, and like when you're on the subs bench, what happens? Your mind's not in the game 100% when you know the night before
correct.
you're starting tomorrow. So
Yeah,
I think that happens with every footballer. When you just know
true.
you're not starting, it takes 50% of enthusiasm away.
Yeah,
Hence why I want to see Darwin start on Saturday. I think it's about time because Jota hasn't scored in the last few games and stuff.
no,
Give him a little break. Give Darwin a game. You can't you can't be really that bad. Like for me, Darwin starting. Like bro, I think Liverpool fans have always supported Darwin, and I think
yeah.
it's about time he sort of gave it back now. Where he just concentrate on ball.
Yeah, I think there's some fans that have been a bit too over loyal when it comes to supporting Diamonds. But look, for me, it's always if you're a Liverpool player, you get my support, regardless. In terms of like your form and stuff. I wouldn't be very disrespectful to any Liverpool player in our squad. But the interesting thing about what you said, when you're a sub, and you don't have that sort of same mentality because you're not focused on the game. So when you do come on, it's just you're kind of playing through the motion, if that makes sense. I feel like it depends from what sort of communication has come through on a slot. Because if on a slot hasn't shown him a bit of faith or hasn't shown that you're part of my plans, then that could be a reason why he hasn't lived up or hasn't really improved game on game, even as a substitute. Because look at Endo, for example. He did a great job for us last season, but now I think the manager just doesn't favor him. So he would probably select someone else ahead of him
Yeah.
rather than like I said, McAllister looks like he might need a rest, or it could be good for him to have a break.
Mm-hmm.
But the manager does not have faith, or should I say, the coach does not have faith in playing
Anyone.
Endo in this
Yeah.
game. So it comes from the coach, because with Klopp, I feel like with Klopp, he will always put the players first. So that's why he would always get criticized, being sentimental to his players. But the thing is, he treated his players like a family. So if one hasn't played games, he'll make sure that player's
Gives
got
a
a
bit of
couple
game
of game
time.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see that in Arne Slot, if I'm being honest with you. I
Mm-hmm.
do feel like he's a straight coach, and for him, it's all about the next game. How am I winning that next game? It's not about being the sentimental. We've had coaches in the past where the likes of Benitez, where he wasn't really a people's person, not like a man manager,
Mm-hmm.
but he got the results. So I see traits in Benitez in on a slot where I feel like he's a tactician in terms. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
the first game took off Kwanzaa on Konate, so I feel like he's very driven in terms of getting results. But it could hamper some players where if you're not favored. So at the minute, it looks like Endo and Nunes for me aren't favored by the coach.
Mm-hmm.
Byron Burke has been given the chance to play week in week out, and look at him right now. sky high into the how he's playing.
Yeah.
Even though Gakpo hasn't played, you can see when Gakpo makes a cameo, he's trying to impress the coach. And I think
Hmm.
that's why he did so well against Milan, because he's got some faith from the coach. So he's like, if I hit the ground running, then I can definitely have an impact. So look, it's going to be interesting season. I find it crazy that fans or some section of the fans have gone to say Arne Slot out. That is just
Well.
outrageous to me after one defeat. And the thing that annoys me about social media is that you'll get rival fans saying one or two cheeky comments to you, and then Liverpool fans just fold and just get rattled straight away. Like,
Hmm.
it's football. We are going to lose games. There is no team that's never
Yeah.
lost. It
Yeah.
is part and parcel of the game. So, yes, we didn't, it was against Forest, and the way we lost, we didn't really play to our ability. But it happens. You've got to put context into it as well. So, yeah, I don't know. I think people are still missing Klopp to an extent where we're used to watching that heavy metal football, and it's
Hmm.
not what we're playing right now. I actually don't mind the football that we're playing. I think it's quite refreshing because it's a different approach, but it's still effective. We're still counter pressing, but we're not 100 miles per hour. We're a bit more calm and
Yeah.
composed in
Sort of.
terms of
Yeah.
our build up play. So there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think like the bigger picture being like I miss Klopp. Me and Frank are number one Klopp fans, and
yeah,
me and him have not sort of backlining Slot at the same time. We've not dissed him,
yeah,
because I said to Frank, as soon as that whistle blows, first game of the season,
yeah,
I'm going to be sporting Arnie Slot.
yeah,
He's looking after the team we love. So for me, I have no time to jump on Arnie Slot's back. The
yeah.
guy got no money this summer to spend on anyone. But no one even looked at that fact there. Like, what are you
Yeah,
saying, Slot out? At the same time, not saying, oh, he never spent nothing. He spent 10 million on Chiesa, 30 on a goalkeeper who's in
yeah,
Spain.
yeah,
So that's not really looked at. For me, what Arne Slot's done so far, I tell you the truth, you can't moan.
yeah,
We've won every game bar one.
yeah,
That was for me the international break.
yeah.
Um,
I agree.
Salah went back to Egypt, had home food, met his family. They're in that vibe then. They think, you know what, I'm
Yeah,
speaking my own mother tongue language.
yeah,
It's a different vibe when you're back home. And same goes for
yeah,
the South American players.
yeah,
Uh, and they fly in much, much further. That's a long flight to South America.
yeah. It is.
And
It is.
McAllister, bro, how much game time? That guy's been on the move since years now. Like since he joined Liverpool, he's been traveling back and forth. Him and
Yeah,
Diaz, playing
yeah,
every game. So we've got to look after the players. And I think it's about time. And that's why I'm not really happy with the way we've done business this year. We let Batstich go. For
yeah,
me, could do a job against Forest. I don't care if you can't do a job. Not Forest, Bournemouth and Forest. He could have done a job. If
yeah,
you can't do a job against them two teams, he shouldn't be at Liverpool. You
yeah.
know. So for me, that's one guy. Cavallo.
Mm,
Look, if I would say McAllister, Cavallo, sort of similar sort of style of play. Cavallo is not as good as McAllister, no doubt. But
mm.
if need be, like we've got West Ham next week in the Carabao Cup, perfect game. Rest McAllister, play Cavallo, Bacetic, and say Gravenberch in midfield. Just
Yeah,
say, just giving an example. So I think the way we did business, letting loads of guys go. Clark went as well, Bobby Clark.
you did. Yeah, 10 million to Salzburg.
Salzburg. So this is what I'm saying. I'm not that type of guy who's going to say, "Oh, if we get injuries, because I don't like saying that.
Yeah,
But if that problem occurs, we've got Curtis Jones. Harvey Elliott isn't even there.
no, he's injured.
So that guy's injured. So really, really, midfield wise, we're
Yeah,
not
it's
really
actually
doing well there. We've got Curtis Jones, Endo. Who else? Doak's not there.
Morton is the only one
Yeah,
that
the only
he's
guy.
he's hardly played. So that's the thing. When you've got these squad players, you have to
Give him
throw
games.
them in there at some shape or form, just so they stay active. Because if he's out cold, and then he's got to start a next game because we've picked up 2, 3 injuries, then look, it is definitely possible that we can pick up 2, 3 injuries. You know, we're not invincible in that regard. So you have to make sure players are getting minutes under their belts. Because right now, you're right, we don't have the numbers, and that is a bit of a concern. In terms of the Bajcetic move, I, I always had a feeling that it was going to be between him or Morton that departs. And I think they've gone for Bajcetic to go to Salzburg just due to his injury record, where he needs to regain that form again because he's been inactive for about a year or so. So he needs to go to a club where he's able to play first team football and then hopefully hit the ground running. And maybe, you know, he'll come back next year as a Liverpool player. But Morton, he's had a couple of loan spells where he's done really well in the Championship.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think this probably the right time to have him in the squad. He's at a good age, and I feel like he should be able to provide decent cover. But like I mentioned about Endo, it just still feels like the coach does not favor
Like him
Endo
at all.
whatsoever. So
Crazy.
you've already reduced one number already because he would only play if it's like the last resort, which is a little bit disrespectful. But you know that is the coach's kind of opinion in regards to player selection there. So I agree. I think we should have recruited another midfielder. Obviously, I know the big talking point is Zubimendi. Speaking of
Hmm.
Zubimendi, what have you made of the sort of recent rumors that we could be going in for another bid in January?
Um, what happened the other day? The day we beat United,
Yeah,
I think they lost,
yeah,
and someone wrote, no, no. When we played Milan the other day, yeah.
yeah. It's
When we played
midweek,
Milan,
wasn't
it's
it?
like
Yeah,
we beat them and they were playing someone else in the Liga.
yeah,
So something like that. And he was like, he chose that instead of joining us. And
yeah,
true to a word, you know. Like for me, I don't really want to go back in for him. But maybe, you know, he's thought about it now and thought, you know what, I wish I went because we don't really know what
mhm,
went on, really, you know. It's the
yeah,
same as the Casado offer we made. We don't really know exactly what really happened. Were we really going to pay that money for that guy?
yeah,
Zubimendi, I think if we got him in, everyone would have been happy, you know.
yeah,
Uh, so for me, if we got him in and Chiesa together, I'll tell you, you know what, two pluses
yeah.
for the midfield. Because for me, Chiesa can probably drop in midfield anyway, you know.
I can see him playing more as a number 10. I don't think he'll be able to play in a double pivot, but as a number 10,
Yeah,
because
as a number 10 role, yeah.
yeah, because he's been playing second striker for Juventus for a couple of years now. So that's
Hmm.
definitely a role he can play. So that Chiesa is an interesting one because I feel like he can literally play 4 positions in this team. So
Okay.
it's going to keep everyone on their toes, even the strikers, because you know Jota has been misfiring. Nunez is still a bit up in the air in terms of what he brings to the table. So Chiesa has a chance to claim a spot in the starting lineup. He could be a second striker for us. So um, interesting in terms of what he does. Um,
Hopefully, he'll like. I can't see him starting Saturday.
no, I
No,
don't think
no,
he will. No,
not. He got 5 minutes yesterday.
it's too
Um,
soon. He needs to just make a few cameos, find the room because remember this is his first time being in the Premier League, so he's not going to just hit the ground running straight away. He'll need to adapt to the opposition in terms of the intensity and the speed of the game in English football.
mhm.
So it will take time, but I think he's an interesting headache to have going forward. But in terms of this fixture, you said you're going for a 3-0 victory.
Mhm.
In terms of our upcoming fixtures, how confident are you in terms of our league form? Do you think we'll maintain this sort of uprising form that we have right now, or is it just going to be literally where we take it game by game and then see how we do?
Well, like we had our game Tuesday,
Yeah.
so they've had Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, sort of time to relax, recover.
Yeah.
I
We've
hope
got
they
a
didn't
lot
train
of
as much.
fixtures coming through. I think we're playing
Yeah,
Carabao Cup next as well.
yeah, West Ham Wednesday.
Yeah.
So we've got to. That's why for me, I want to get the job done early, and then changes being made.
Yes.
Um, I wish like it's all about team management with any manager. It's how they handle certain situations when they bring the subs on. I'm not a big fan of bringing two attackers in at the same time. Because what it is, attackers, sometimes it takes a bit of time for them to warm up into a game. You know, it's like, so when we make a double substitution in our attack, it don't seem to work, as we've seen this season. So I'd rather see Slot put one guy on, and then about 15 minutes later, bring the other attacker on. Do it like that, you know. It's all about game management with Slot now. I think he's a very disciplined guy. And I think it's like how he handles certain issues in a game. Like the Milan game, we were losing 1-0. We didn't really like fluster. We got on with it, and we had like 19 shots on goal away at the San Siro. So that was good to see in that way, that we came back from a 1-0 deficit and came back and won the game 3-1 pretty comfortably, actually. You know.
Yeah, it was very encouraging. I feel like you just got to minus that first 10 minutes, and the rest of the game we performed really well in a environment that's, you know, known to be very hostile, and it might not be the best Milan team around, but it's still players
had names.
They're big names there. There's still players
Leo, Morata.
Yeah, some big players there still. Just because obviously they've got a new coach, so they're still getting used to his sort of methodology in terms of how to play football and stuff. So they're still a work in progress as a team, just like us in some shape or form as well. So look, I agree. I think the match against Milan definitely gives me confidence going into our upcoming games, because we've got a lot of games coming apart. We've got West Ham next, and then I think we've got, let me have a look through the fixtures. We've got Wolves on Saturday, then we've got Bologna on Wednesday, and then we've got Crystal Palace and then Chelsea as well in the month of October. So a lot of games coming thick and fast. Before we wrap up, just wanted to get your prediction in terms of the Premier League. Where do you see Liverpool finishing? Or is it a bit too premature to say at this stage?
Like when the season started, because like every year I support Liverpool, like my whole life, I said we're winning the league this season. I'm not like I'm not into that top four talk.
Yeah,
never have been, never will do. So for me, we're going to win the league.
Yeah,
I'll say that because I don't want to go into a fight like already lost. So for me, we're winning the league. That's with the players. I think the players we have are capable of actually doing it, but the squad we have, I don't think they can. That's the problem right there. You know, the squad size is sort of worries me big time. Like not adding, letting loans people on loan. Not right, you know. That's like you can't run a football team who wants to compete on four fronts. How are you going to do that? You're going to play Gravenberch, McAllister, and Szoboszlai every bloody game?
Yeah, it's a concern. It's definitely a concern, because we were just talking about it on the top of the show in terms of the players are playing a lot of games nowadays in the modern days. So when you've got so many games coming through like that, you need to have a bigger squad, and we've reduced our squad in comparison to last year. So that brings a bit of concern to me going forward. But I do agree. I think in terms of the quality we have, the 20 players, so the 11 at start and then the 9 subs, are of good quality in my opinion. But once you get 1 or 2 injuries, then the levels drop. So hopefully, touch wood, we don't have too many injuries. And let's see where we go up to in terms of January, because I'm hoping we can get a couple of additions in January. But we were asking for signings in the summer. We got Chiesa, which I was very pleased with it. Don't get me wrong, but I think we all wanted a centre back. We all wanted a number 6. So it never happened. Will it happen in January? Yeah,
I can't really see. I can't really see it. You know. And that's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah,
it's pretty embarrassing for a size of our club. It just feels like every season we have the same topic about that. Will we? And that's why I've sort of cut that off now, not relying on the owners to pull out the money. And we're not even talking about Chelsea money, you know, we're talking about a top club money. Like, look at everyone. Arsenal, they brought the Italian guy, the Spanish midfielder. Man United spent 200 odd million. Chelsea even spent, like, they brought Neto in, man. Neto. Like, come on. I would have took Neto straight away. No questions asked. For me, this summer, if we got in Neto, Zubamendi, and say Chiesa, then we're talking. You know, then we're talking. And for me, if I'm Edwards, those are three guys I would have thought, okay, if we get them three in, we can win everything, you know. Sometimes I think Edwards don't want us to win. It's just a weird vibe I get. He's a, you know what I mean, bro?
Yeah,
Because like for me, I always say that Edwards has never left the club. And why I don't think he watches our games, because for me, if he had his head bloody screwed on, he would have realised last year in the season, say November time, October, November time. Look, Endo's come in. He's done a job. Just in case he's not fit fully, we need another DM in January
yeah,
to get Klopp that Premier League title before he bloody leaves. He was not going to do that for Klopp. You know, him and Klopp don't see eye to eye, so he's thinking, "Why the fuck should I do that?" And that's
but
why I,
was he there at the time when it was January?
yeah, because for me, bro, he's not left the club. I was always saying,
If he's
like,
behind the
he's
scenes.
behind the scenes. Like, how can he
Mm,
leave the club and all of a sudden he's CEO of football?
yeah, you never know.
Uh,
You know? Might have
because
some.
they've been talking since day
Mm,
one. As soon as he said he's leaving, they probably just said to him, "Listen, give us a few years. When Jurgen leaves, you can walk straight back in." And what happened? He walked straight back in.
yeah,
Um, I don't think he's into football. I don't think he watches our games. And that's
yeah,
seriously like all these people who back Edwards need to ask him questions. You know, what is
mm,
he actually doing for the club? He's more bothered really about his own personal success, like who he is, you know. And Liverpool is where he's going to show that. And but the end of the result is, I always say this: if he said, "Okay, we get Andre last January, he's gone to Wolves now."
yeah,
He came in and he won us them games where Endo weren't playing, and we won the league. And then Edwards came out and was like, "Yeah, I'll wrap that deal up." Every
mm,
Liverpool fan would have been on his like, "Well done, man." Like, there you go.
yeah,
He don't use his brain. I think he could have said, "You know what? This team needs a DM last January." Never did
yeah,
it. So for me, I've sort of lost. I'm not really trusting any January friends this summer, this January as well. You
yeah.
know,
Yeah, it's a shame. I just don't feel like our owners are ambitious. It's full stop. Literally, that's just how it is. And when you've got Michael Evans, and obviously, yes, he has a fantastic track record, but he's a data man. That's what he's going off by. So he's not really looking at the bigger picture. But who knows? Hopefully, things change in the club going forward. But it's going to be a thing where we just have to sit down
did
by club and see what happens at the club.
did you? What did you think of Gravenberch on Tuesday, for example?
I thought it was really good,
Yeah.
really, really good.
Okay.
In terms of he's improving game by game. I
Mhm.
feel like just to nitpick, there were a few times where I feel like his passing could have been better, but general play I feel was really good. He was very tenacious in terms of making the tackles. Uh, Even just when he makes a tackle and he carries the ball, it just gives the team a bit of a lift, and they attack as a collective. So I feel like this role suits him to the T. It's a
Mhm.
role I really wanted Klopp to play a 4-2-3-1. You probably heard me say it numerous times last season. That was the formation
Yeah.
that Klopp should have played because we had the squad for it as well. And obviously
Mhm.
we're playing 4-2-3-1 now. And I feel like a lot of the players, they're playing their natural game, and that
It's
includes
true.
Gravenberch, who was
Mhm.
pretty much written off just because of his time at Bayern Munich, where obviously he didn't get much game time. But I feel like right now you're seeing the real Gravenberch, and it's a player that I saw at Ajax. It's just that he's a bit more mature now, he's older now, and I think the more games he play, the ceiling's
Sky's the
very
limit.
high for Gravenberch.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like for me, like we were going on about stats wise. Stats wise, his stats weren't great for that game on
Yeah,
Tuesday. But on the eye, he looked like he was running the game, you know.
yeah,
He made 7 interceptions out of 7 or something. And that's what, like, when you watch football and your team's like not got the ball, you're
yeah,
waiting for one of our guys to get the ball back. And what happened? He did it so many times in that
yeah,
game. Hence why we thought, oh, he had a great game and that. But when you look at the stats, his other stats weren't great. For
yeah,
example, so for me, I don't really go with data as much. I rather go with the eye.
yeah,
So for me, Edwards isn't really a football guy. He's more of a data analyst. I
yeah,
look at the data when a guy who like plays 90 minutes. I want to see, okay, he scored 2 goals, got an assist, and I want to see what he did, what else he did in the game. Then I'll look at the stats. Oh, look
Yeah.
at that! He made like 5 tackles, won 5. Head. What do you call it? Um, Head camp.
Yeah.
Head battles. Win
Yeah.
like for the heads.
Aerial challenges. Yeah.
Yeah, aerial challenges like 3 out of 3. So like for me, that's when I look at the stats. I don't look at the stats before I buy a guy. I want to
No.
see him play football first. And I think football's going that way, really data way into that
Yeah.
way of, it's not. Oh,
It shouldn't be like that. That's not how you should scout a player. Obviously, data is good, but it should be the secondary information. It shouldn't be the primary
yeah,
information. Like
yeah.
it should build a case for a player rather than it being the first thing you do. Because for me, eye test wins all day long.
Hmm.
When you watch that performance against AC Milan, I just mentioned to you there were areas of his game where his passing wasn't great. So that's something I identified. But what I saw in his play, he never gave up. Because you get players that when they misplace a pass or two, they go missing. They don't want to show for the ball anymore. He didn't have that attitude. He just became a bit more aggressive, made sure he made that interception the next time he had the opportunity, and then he just improved from there on. So that shows me he's got a strong mentality and he's got a different approach to the game where he's got a very positive attitude. And that's what you look at. You don't really look at just the numbers because showing mentality and attitude is you can't measure that on
Exactly,
metrics. Does that make sense?
exactly,
So for
exactly.
me, you have to watch the game and take it into that consideration. But who knows? Who knows how they operate? Because in terms of his track record, he's got a good record. But who knows? It's all through numbers.
But I think with Gravenberch, the thing what's done him the best thing is he knows he's starting next game.
His confidence, yeah,
There you go. So he
yeah,
knows straight away. You know what? Mentally, I'm going to get ready for that game in 3 days' time. That's
yeah,
all it is. That's why Darwin hasn't really looked settled this season. Gapco,
yeah,
different kettle of fish. I think Gapco's when he came off the sub, his mentality showed. When he came off, how he would he got shook hands with everyone. He's like, "Come on,"
yeah,
I love that attitude in the player. Gapco hasn't started any games bar that game. Still, he had the right attitude, and that's why I got a lot of respect for him and Gravenberch and Virgil, all Dutch players. I remember
yeah.
last year, you know how many Liverpool fans were taking the rip out of Dutch
Mhm.
football players? They were making fun of Dutch football players. Like, who are these two donkeys we've got, Gapco and Gravenberch and stuff like
Wow.
that? And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I think I was the only one out of a
Mhm.
lot of people, and Frank, for example, where we said, look, Gravenberch, we can't say anything about him. The guy's coming on every 10 minutes, end of games. Like, what
Yeah.
can he do, Hence, but White now this season started every game, and look at him, man. The guy's just like getting better each game. For me, the Milan game was his best game
Yeah. By
for
far.
Liverpool.
I think he's just improving game by game, and I think that's what you want to see in your player. And you can see the confidence because obviously he's picking up man of the match awards, and
Mm-hmm.
you can see that he's enjoying it as well at the same time. So, look, long may it continue. But yeah, Jake Kismet, thank you so much for
Best,
coming on the
bro.
show. Appreciate your
It's
time as
great.
always. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully we get the win this weekend.
Oh, we will. We will. What was your prediction?
I
Three
went
nil as
for
well.
I went for 2-1. I think it'll be a quite a
Oh,
close game.
okay.
I just feel like the way Iraola sets up his team, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to be a very hard team to kind of break down. And they're very aggressive in the counter attack as well. So they've got
Yeah.
the likes of Kluivert, Tavernier, Semenyo, who causes havoc. I remember
Yeah,
last
he's a
season.
nice little player. He is.
He's a good player. So I think it'll be a close one. Obviously, the scoreline doesn't suggest it, but I feel like we'll be comfortable enough to just take a 2-0 lead, and then they end up getting like a consolation goal towards the end. So, but
Oh,
look,
okay.
as long as we get the win, I'll be
That's
happy.
the
So
main thing.
that's the
Bless,
main thing.
bro.
Take care, bro. Speak to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, bye. Just gonna go through some of the comments before we wrap up. So let's have a look. Richard, big up Richard. Always says Assalamu alaikum, Ozzy and JK. Well, welcome, Stomach, to Richard. Thank you for tuning. How you're doing? We're doing all good. Thank you. Appreciate you coming on. Say respect, love to all Muslim brothers, sisters. Never look on. Very thanks. Thank you very much, Richard. Richard says, gutted last Saturday game against Forest. Good win against AC Milan. Next game, Bournemouth, EPL, West Ham, EFL, Wolves, EPL, Bologna, UCL, Palace, EPL, and then Chelsea. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier on. We've got a lot of games. We've got like 2-3 days gap in between each of these games. So yeah, it's not going to be easy. We will have to rotate. And you literally just mentioned that next comment where we need rotation, depth, and cover in our squad. I totally agree. We have to rotate these players at some point. I expect there to be more wholesale changes in that West Ham fixture, for example. And then I think Arsenal will take it from there. But yes, we have to rotate heavy. We can't overwork some of the players like Gravenberg and McAllister. As fantastic it is that they're in such great form right now. You have to be careful in terms of how you manage players, because if you pick someone injury, I know Endo can come in and do a job, but I don't believe Arsenal has that belief that he can come in and do a job. So it's a big concern, and that's why I feel like this needs to be addressed in the next window. But we'll leave transfer as it is right now. Richard asked me, what do you think Darwin Núñez and Curtis Jones at Liverpool FC? Do you think they have a career at LFC? Darwin Núñez, if I'm being brutally honest, I don't see him being here for the long term. Uh, just because I haven't seen any improvement since day one. He's been here for about 2-3 years now. He's still making those same mistakes. And I know Jake has mentioned that he had that purple patch where he was keeping onside and scoring goals, but that's all it was. It was a purple patch. So generally, when he's played for Liverpool, he's just looked a bit out of sorts, very chaotic in his play. The way I describe it is like he's a kid in a playground. When you used to play football back in the day in your school, that's how he plays football on a professional field. So no awareness in terms of the players around, in terms of passing, no awareness in terms of staying on side. And at this high level, he needs to do a lot better. So for me, I just don't feel like, he's the right quality or the right level to lead Liverpool going forward. That doesn't mean he's not a good player. He can definitely go to another team and showcase his talent. For Liverpool, it's a different game. With Arne Slot, he's got a different approach in terms of how he wants to play football. So I just don't see him having a long-term future. I can see him leaving next summer. I've heard some fans say he might even leave in January if we get a good offer, but January one seems a bit unlikely. I think next summer, if things go the way they are right now, where he's coming on and being ineffective, then we have to recruit another top striker, and it will have to be in his place. So no, I don't think he has a long-term future at the club. That's just my personal opinion. Curtis Jones, I think he does have a future at the club. For him, it's just been injuries. Unfortunately, he's been picking up injuries here and there. But whenever he's played, I've been very impressive in terms of what he brings to the table. But for me, he's always going to be a squad player. He's not going to be someone that takes over Gravenberg or McAllister in the lineup. But he's a good player to have. I think you have to look in terms of his ability on the ball. Definitely brings something to the table. Can play in different positions, which is a key when you're a squad player. So I think he has a future at the club. I just don't see him being a starter, if that makes sense. And then Richard asks, why can't we have strategy against low block side? It remains to be seen under Arne Slot. Obviously, with Jurgen Klopp, we had a different way of playing. Under Arne Slot, let's see how he evolves in terms of deploying tactics against those low block teams. It's a strange one, to be fair. I think I'm not going to make too much judgment on that Forest game. I genuinely feel like that international break just took the sting out of the team's momentum. But let's play those teams again. Obviously, we've got Bournemouth. I wouldn't classify Bournemouth as a low block team, but when we play a team like that, then we'll know what it is, because I think that was just a one-off. But generally, I feel like we have the right approach in terms of playing high possession football and making sure you're breaking the lines. That is the way to do it. And then I think with wingers as well, you have to try and make sure they're out wide as possible. And that's how Diaz and Salah have been playing this season as well. So I think we've got the ingredients to beat these low block teams. You have to put a bit of context. For me, that Forest game was just a one-off, 2-week layoff, and then the team coming back after playing a lot of games, it has a toll on their body. So for me, I'm just seeing it as bad day in the office. We go again. Richard asks, are we going for left side centre back, defensive mid, and number 9 in January 2025? I wish, Richard, but I just don't see it happening. The number 9, a number 1 would only come if Darwin Núñez is leaving. I very highly doubt that that will be the case. Centre back, no. So the only so I don't see us signing any players. If I'm being honest, I would love to, of course I would, but I don't see us signing anyone unless someone picks up a long-term injury and then we have to kind of replace him, or someone is trying to sign one of our targets for next summer and then we have to go in. Similar fashion in terms of Diaz and Gakpo, because those were targets for the summer, or we pushed it, forward in terms of signing them in January before anyone prized them away. So unfortunately, Liverpool react in the market that much. It's a reactive kind of investment from Liverpool, which is not the best way. You should be a bit more organized and planned and strategic in terms of how you recruit your players. But track record shows we are reactive in some windows. So let's see. I hope we do, but I don't see us signing 3 players in one window. It'll probably be a project or something that we have plans for next summer more than anything else. But let's see, because depends on how the season goes. It might be where the club look and thinking, you know what, we do need to make these additions. So let's see. At this stage, very early to say. Richard said, will Darwin in his mindset improve or not? I don't mean to be harsh when I say I just don't see it, if I'm being honest. I feel like there hasn't really been any improvement in his game since he's come in. You can look at footage from when he's first started at the club. It's quite similar. It's the same old story with Darwin Núñez. He comes on, he's offside on a number of occasions. In terms of his shooting, could be very wayward at times. One-on-one, I don't feel like he has the calmness and composure to finish clinically. So I just haven't seen improvements in him. Like, he's got a lot of ability in terms of speed and power, but that can only go so far at the highest level, in my opinion. You have to have intelligence in your overall game. I just don't think he has it. So for me, I don't see it. But look, if he ends up going on a crazy run and improves and he shows that he's really that guy, I'll be the first one to give him his plaudits. With me, whenever I have an opinion on a player, it's not static. It will change depending on how they do on the pitch. So for me, I'll be happy to hold my hand up and say, look, I was wrong. I said a lot of things, and I'm happy to say, as long as my team's winning, I'll be very transparent, honest in terms of how I view certain players. But from what I've seen the last 2-3 years, I just don't see it, if I'm being honest with you. Richard says Robertson is yard off his game. Kwanzaa and Bailey lots to improve their game. In terms of Robertson, I think he's lost a yard of speed. So I feel like that's impacted in terms of how he's playing. But he's still an intelligent player. The last couple of games that he played early in the season, I thought he looked really good. So still a player there. I wouldn't dismiss him so soon right now. Obviously, you probably want to think of a long-term successor that could be addressed, I guess, next summer. But no, I still feel like he has a lot to give to his team. So yeah, I wouldn't count him out. I think he's definitely an important player of our squad. Daz says, big up Ozzy, bless JK, bro. Big up yourself, Daz. And this is Daz's team for this weekend. He's gone for Allison, Trent, Evil, Van Dijk, Robbo, McAllister, Ryan, Dominic Szoboszlai, Mo, Nunes, and Diaz. So slightly different to mine, but yeah, fair play. Richard says, I need to stop talking to media. I don't mind him talking to the media. I just don't want him talking tactics to the media. That's a big thing. When he revealed his master plan of how he beat Man United, I don't really want to hear that, to be honest with you. It's reminiscent of Pep Linders releasing that book called Intensity, and then we lacked intensity straight after that. So no, we don't need to reveal these sort of things. Yes, you can speak about your tactics and to a certain extent, but you got to be careful how you communicate, because it can be taken as a source for other teams to exploit Liverpool in terms of how we go up against other teams. But at the same time, I think Arne Slot will always adapt his tactics based on the opposition. So it's not a huge thing. But I just don't like my coach telling everyone how we demolished the team. We all saw it. We beat them 3-0. So just leave it at that. We don't need to go into full detail into how we beat them. So yeah, just need to play the game a little bit more in terms of speaking to the media. And which is say Klopp is a people person, and Klopp isn't a yes man. No, he's not. But then I wouldn't say Arnold Slott's a yes man either. It's too early to say, in my opinion. But the people person, I think he's a proper coach. I don't see him being like a Klopp where he's, hugging with players and having that kind of bond. I feel like he'll have a good relationship with his players, but it'll be more on a professional basis where it's all about the results. It's more driven towards making sure we get wins week in, week out. So look, I'm all for it. As long as my team's winning, I'm not really too concerned about how the dynamics are within the squad. It's the results that happen. That's what counts for me. So let's see. FSG have no ambition. No, they don't. We've discussed this several times. We don't believe they do. And that will cost us in the end, unfortunately. But hopefully things change, more hopeful than anything else. Reggie said, which trophy will Arnold will win this season? I think we'll win one of the domestic trophies if I had to make a prediction. If I had to name one and put it in FA Cup, to be honest with you, I think as long as we win a cup and challenge for the title, I think it'll be rather a good opening season for a new coach. But obviously, I wanted to try and dominate and win as many games and go for as many trophies as possible. At the same time, you can't really have those expectations just because you have to put context into the situation where we've got a new coach, new style of play, new philosophy. I would like to say new players, but we've only got one new player. So, everyone's still adapting. The signs are great. Obviously, the first 3 games we won in very comfortable fashion. The loss obviously took us one step back, but for me, it was an overreaction in terms of some sections of the fan base, even saying to get dismissed, the coach to get dismissed, which is just outrageous. So now look, I take it game by game, and for me, the more games I watch under Arne Slot, the more I understand in terms of his coaching methods and what he expects from the team, because we're just scratching the surface right now. This is not how Liverpool are going to play. We're going to elevate further. So this should be exciting times ahead. I don't feel like fans are seeing it with open eyes right now because they're still thinking about the past in terms of Jurgen Klopp. We've got to evolve and move on and try and back this new coach, because right now the present team is what matters in terms of how we play and what we do on the pitch. So got to back the coach. We have to back him. We can't dismiss him just because we lost one game. That's just crazy talk right there. Daz has gone for a 4-0 victory. Love the positivity, Daz. Love it. Philip's gone for a 3-1 for Saturday. Fair play, Philip. And Daz saying big up to Philip, mate. Big up to Philip as always. And then Double D, big up Double D as always. He said, yeah, don't talk too much, Arne. They'll figure us out. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's all good, explaining your approach in terms of how you play. But revealing your tactics in terms of how you beat that team, yeah, that's too much. That's too much. It's like telling someone the blueprint of how to run a successful business. And they just go on and copy you, and then they're making their money as well. So you just made someone else successful. Whereas in football terms, you revealing your tactics, you're just giving them the game plan to beat us, or to identify how Liverpool play and how they can counter and defeat us whenever they play us. So no, he's got to play the game. He's got to be smart. He can't be too transparent and too open with the media. This media will chew him alive. So yeah, he definitely needs to watch what he says. I think he'll learn in due course. He'll know this media is not as friendly as they may seem right now, just because he's a new guy in the block right now. So they're going to be nice towards him in terms of getting information from him. But once the results don't go our way, then he'll feel the pressure, and he'll feel the intensity from the media in terms of the hard questions that come through. So we'll see. Obviously, I don't want that to happen. I want us to be as successful as possible, but it is a reality. You've got to be very careful in terms of how you communicate, and then how much you reveal as well. So let's see how it goes. But that is the end of the show, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Philip, Diggs, BTW1, Richard. We've got Daz. We've got Double D. Appreciate your comments and engagement as always, guys. And big up to JK for coming on the show as well. Appreciate your time. If you haven't already and you're new to the channel, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. In terms of upcoming content, I will be doing a watch along for this fixture this Saturday. UK time is 3 p.m. So I'll be live from 2:50 p.m. UK time. So yeah, feel free to come on, drop your comments in the live chat as the game is being played, and then we'll also do a match reaction show late in the evening. Normally it's around 10 p.m., but I'll confirm on the day. So it's an open platform for the viewers to come on the show and have their say. I'll pin a link in the description, so or in the live chat as well. And yeah, feel free to come on and express yourself, whether it's a win or a loss or a draw. No, it's all good having a discussion and debate about certain things. Sometimes good to get it off your chest as well. So yeah, the platform is there for you guys to come on during the match reaction shows. Yes, and that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to see you all on Saturday. Goodbye.